I'm sure by now you have all heard about our involvement in yet another foreign war. Now, I'm not about to give my opinion on President Trump's decision yesterday or even on foreign policy in general. That's a discussion for another time. But I do recognize that times like these can bring about collateral damage in hearts thousands of miles away from the conflict. This might be hard for some of the older half of our congregation to believe, but about half of our congregation was either born before 9/11 or was too young to remember 9/11. So they never knew the world that you still remember. All they've ever known is varying degrees of war. And we have been told that we're on the verge of World War III our entire life. And so news of yet another conflict can evoke emotions among a fellowship like ours, and passions on many levels, and even on varying and opposite even ends of the spectrum. And to be honest, I think probably for the most of us, we're honestly just kind of jaded about it all at this point. But this does affect some of you more directly than others, as it raises possibilities of deployments and heightened threats and securities. Some of you may fear that World War III situation and the worst case scenarios that are always put before us coming to fruition. And yet, at the end of the day, there's not much that you and I can do. At least it seems that way. Our governing authorities are just going to do what they want to do anyways, it seems, and you can't stop the bombs and you can't send more. And so what are we to do, church? Isaiah 40 says, "Behold your God. Behold your God." And then it says, "Behold, the nations are like a drop from a bucket, and are accounted as the dust on the scales. Behold, he, God, takes up the coastlands like fine dust. All the nations are counted as nothing before him. They are accounted by him as less than nothing and emptiness." Isaiah continues, "Do you not know? Do you not hear? Has it not been told you from the beginning? Have you not understood from the foundations of the earth? It is he who sits above the circle of the earth, and its inhabitants are like grasshoppers, who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in, who brings princes to nothing and makes the rulers of the earth as emptiness. Scarcely are they planted, scarcely sown, scarcely has their stem taken root in the earth. When he blows on them, they wither, and the tempest carries them off like stubble." In light of this, church, in light of who our God is, his power displayed in all creation, and the reality that the most scary nations in the earth are less than nothing to our God, this is what you should do. One, recognize that God has got this, that he is in the business of raising up and tearing down nations for his own good purposes. Secondly, pray for our governing authorities and those directly impacted by this conflict. And three, and what I want to focus most of the time on today, is fight the war that you are in. Fight the war that you are in your heart, in your home, and in your community. And what I mean by that is this: James 4, verse 1 and following says, "What causes quarrels and what causes fights among you? Is it not this, that your passions are at war within you? You desire and do not have, so you murder. You covet and cannot obtain, so you fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly to spend it on your passions. You adulterous people, do you not know that friendship with the world is enmity with God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. The same sin and idolatry that provokes global war exists in the hearts of individuals. That's where it comes from to begin with. And how can we ever expect to be at peace as a nation if we, as a nation, are full of Christians at war with themselves? You may not be fighting over oil and mineral rights or weapons of mass destruction, but you are fighting over what you think are your rights. And do not think that a covetous heart is any less destructive. Mom and Dad, you can't prevent nuclear warfare in the Middle East, but you can keep your home from becoming a radioactive wasteland of quarreling and selfish desire. And any person, any family, any nation that makes itself an enemy of God through friendship with the world really doesn't deserve to survive anyway. No one can escape the judgment of the living God, who measures the sands of every seashore as dust on the tip of his finger. And so the best policy then for national security is repentance. And repentance begins with you. Repentance begins with us. We know what causes wars. It is sin. But the good news is we know the remedy. We know the Prince of Peace, whose everlasting kingdom will see all nations beat their swords into plowshares. So may we labor in that direction. And as we prepare our hearts now to confess our sin and to join the battle, we'll do so by standing together, lifting our voices and singing Psalm 2, hymn number 5.